The West is slowly abandoning Ukraine. Is it because of Zelensky's speech where he blasted Europe? First, you have an article from the US, I believe it's the New York Times, that is saying that the White House has given a condition to Ukraine that if they don't abandon the Donbass entirely, they will not get any security guarantees. Right? Now, the White House tried to come out and say, no, we never say that. They say that. They say that. If you have an article from the New York Times saying it, they say the New York Times is CIA magazine or something like that. If they're saying it, someone said it, but they don't want people to know it. Then you have France, doesn't want to allow the Storm Shadow or whatever, those long-range missiles that they have, they are blocking those from reaching Ukraine. Then Germany comes out and say they don't have the capacity to send the air defense system. They don't have that capacity anymore. So basically, everybody's on its own. And Ukraine is in a situation where they are begging for $27 billion. While they're begging, Russia is completely destroying the energy system of Ukraine. So what is truly going on is the West giving up on Ukraine. The EU has realized that without the United States, there's nothing they can do. The United States is not just stopping the financial support that they were giving to Ukraine. By the US clearly positioning itself on the side of Ukraine giving up, it clearly discouraged the other allies of the US or the other puppets of the US. You can call them whatever you want to call them, right? And specifically with this argument of Greenland that came in, Europe is finding itself in a position where they feel like at this point in time, they might as well just go on their own. And going on their own, they cannot unite for Ukraine. You cannot unite for a lost cause because Ukraine is lost completely. That battle is over. And what Europe is trying to do is to look out for its own survival. That's what's going on. And that's why you see them, trying to make deals with other people and basically trying to detach themselves from the US. Now, it's going to be very difficult because these are puppets of the US. And so the US is not just going to let them go. But in this Ukraine situation, not only that, they are trying not to get involved anymore. I don't know if they're really upset with what Zelensky said, right? But also, they are trying to bring a representative for Europe who's going to negotiate with Russia. And now this has been difficult because most of them have been really hostile against Russia. So who is it going to be? And that is where the problem is. They cannot choose UK Starmer, no. German Chancellor, no. Macron, probably, but Macron has been so weakened and because he's been flip-flopping. At first, he started talking to Russia and then condemned Russia and then he wants to go to war against Russia and all of that. So his position is flip-flopping and Donald Trump has really humiliated him to the point where he's weakened completely. So there's nothing you can get there from him, right? The Finland leader, whether it's president or prime minister, I can't remember, but people are talking about him, but he's very hostile against Russia. So Russia is not going to allow him to come near Moscow for any sort of negotiation. The only person that they could probably send as a representative is Hungary Prime Minister Orban. But the problem is that they don't like him because they feel like he's pro-Russian. He's not pro-Russian. He's pro-reality, right? He understands that Ukraine cannot beat Russia. You cannot beat a country that has a nuclear weapon when you yourself have nothing. Someone who has a brain understands that. Anybody who's sitting out there trying to make Ukrainians believe that they could have won this conflict is completely out of their mind, or they don't understand what a nuclear weapon is. And Russia is the country that has the most nuclear weapons in the planet. People like Orban understand that. That's why he positioned himself the way that he does, right? And so at the end of the day, they will have to go outside of Europe and to find someone who represents Europe and starting to talk to Russia. They admit that there are three major superpowers who are now making the decisions for the next world order. And so the US is a declining power, while China is a rising power, Russia a rising power. And so if they don't align themselves in the new world order and accept the fact that there is a multipolar world that is being born, they will be left behind. And Ukraine has nothing to offer. Ukraine spend their time begging. Zelensky wants more money while his people are dying in the cold. And Donald Trump came out and said he talked to Putin and Putin agreed not to hit energy facilities during the winter. But the reality is that it's not Putin who started it. It is Ukraine who started hitting infrastructures and energies. And all that Russia is doing is just hit back. Or Russia started saying, look, we can just fight in the Donbass. We don't have to hit each other's energies, facilities, and other infrastructure. Let's bring the fight in the Donbass area. Ukraine, they started by attacking the Crimea Bridge, which is in civil infrastructure. And that is when Russia decided, okay, if you're going there, we're going to hit your civil infrastructures. And so Ukraine is out there, trying to have a war of propaganda. Oh, we hit Russia's energy facility, but it's not doing anything. It is not changing anything. But when Russia hits Ukraine's energy facilities, it is sending Ukraine to the Stone Ages. And what is happening now is everybody is understanding that Russia is breaking Ukraine to the point of no return. That is why you see Europe starting to stay away from Ukraine. All that Ukraine is doing is asking for more money, and all that money is being squandered, completely destroyed in this conflict. It is bringing nothing new. And that's what Europe is now starting to understand, because they see that they have no support. Trump is not going to support them in any way. Look at the way Trump is talking about the soldiers who fought with them in the wars in Afghanistan, and you name them, right? British soldiers and all that. Look at what he's saying. He said, we didn't need them. And they're seeing the casualties coming out of this conflict. Every time they're losing, they're coming up with some type of report. Now they're saying, well, Russia lost 2 million soldiers and all of that. A major propaganda. Today, Russia gave Ukraine 1,000 bodies of Ukraine fallen soldiers. 1,000. And I'm thinking the reason why Russia did it now is because they're coming up with this report saying that Russia lost 2 million people, which is a major lie. And Russia said, well, if we lost that many people, how come we're able to give 1,000 dead Ukrainians and Ukraine is not able to give us those people that they think we lost? From the very beginning, Russia first started giving 6,000 bodies. Ukraine didn't even give 1% of that, right? And then they gave another 1,000 or 2,000. In total, Ukraine only gave maybe about 129 or something like that. And Russia provided more than 10,000 bodies. If you're saying that you're the one who loses less soldiers, how come when it comes to the exchange of bodies, you're not able to give not even 10%? In fact, 1% they're not able to give. What is going on? That's where the question is. They are admitting now that Russia now control more than 90% of the entire Donbass. More than 90%. They themselves are now admitting that. At first they say 80%. Now they're admitting that Russia is really advancing. And that is why they're coming up with all these propaganda, right? And so Europe is starting to open their eyes. They're saying that this conflict is not taking them anywhere, especially when they don't have the US backing them up. And the US position right now seems to be against Ukraine. This conflict did not just bring Ukraine to the brink. It is not just going to destroy NATO. It will divide the entire West. When this conflict ends, not only the NATO will no longer exist, but even the EU will end up separating.